Okay, I'm London, as most of you guys know. I'm not gonna lie, Tucker asked me to come preach a sermon, not a testimony, and it got me rattled. I was so nervous. I mean, it was when was camp? A month ago? 2 months ago? And he, like, right after camp, he asked me. I'm like, okay, I'll do it, whatever. He asked me and another person, and the other person stepped up before me, kind of showed me up wherever Caleb's at. But God gave me a message about trust. Trust. I was like, I think I'm good at trusting God. And then he totally switched me up. I went to a concert, and this dude gave me a book, and it says, "My Story for Your Glory." I open up, first page. What's the story of your life? If you're the one writing it, how's it going? Do you sometimes feel that you are missing something, or that the story of your life is just a turning out of the way you dreamed? Do you have pages you wish you could erase? So then God tells me, you're not preaching on trust anymore. You're preaching on your identity. Because it's so important to have your identity in God. Like, it's just number one, that's what you need to do. Because, I mean, when there's some people, we're teenagers in here, I'm going to be honest. You're either putting your identity in God, you're putting it in anxiety, depression. What all do I wrote down? Anxiety, depression, drugs, alcohol, sports, because some people put them in sports. I was one of those kids. You put it in fear a lot. We're all scared of what's going to happen. We put our anxiety in fear, and we just quit on what we pursue, our dreams. Right now, I'm going through something that I'm really nervous about. I don't even like talking about it because it scares me. But I'm going up to college. I'm going to be moving to Springfield. I've never lived away from my parents. I'm not ready for it. But that's fear talking to me. That's not God. God's telling me you're ready for this. He's been preparing me for 18 years now. I'm ready. This is what he's talking about. And then I have one more written down. And us teens struggle with it horribly. Other people. We let other people determine what we do in our lives. Some people determine us as maybe ugly, fat, maybe we're annoying, maybe we talk too much, maybe we're too loud, maybe we're too quiet. And what we do is we change ourselves to try to become better in their eyes. I'm really bad at it. I would change myself in any way, shape, or form to make somebody happy. We can't do that. That's not what we're meant to do. God chose us and made us for a specific reason every time. Can you put up Romans 6:6? Knowing this, that our old self was crucified with him, in order that our body of sin might be done away with, so that we would no longer be slaves to sin. That's powerful. That's a powerful verse right there. Because once we choose him, once we become that child of God that he wants us to be, we cannot be slaves to sin no more unless you run back and you choose it. You have to choose that sin if you're a child of God to go back into that place. Okay, now to the part where I was really nervous about because I'm scared I'm going to mess up. So, I'm at that concert, right? Have this whole thing in mind, and then I get that. Everything gets switched up. I have to restart. And so I'm like, I think I'm going to talk about identity. And this one person, I'm not going to name her name because she's not here. She goes, why identity? Why is it important? Kind of testing me, like, what's the whole reason behind it? Why identity? Why is it important to be identified in God and not other things? So some wise woman told me this story about a king, a very rich king, who has multiple slaves, has one kid, one son. He's got a job that needs done, and he needs it done right. He needs a trustworthy person to go in and get this job done exactly how he wants it. So he sends his kid and one of his slaves. When they go, they botch the job. They get everything mixed up. They lose the guy millions of money, just horrible. The king comes back, he's mad, he's madder than mad. He wants to take his anger out on something, but he can't take it out on his kid, because that's his child. So he takes it down the slave. He takes down the one that he doesn't really care about. The one, he fires him right there on the spot. You're done. Get out of here. But he looks at his kid and says, you are my child. I will never give up on you. That's the same way that God looks at us. We might go and mess up time after time after time after time, but it doesn't matter because we're his child, and he chose us. We are his child. We are his person. We don't understand how much love God actually has for us. He never will forsake us. He says that to us. He will never forsake us. Never. It's just, when you finally wrap your brain around what God has in stored for you, it scares you. And that's where fear comes back. That's where Satan comes back. He's like, remember that one time you had that one idea? Well, think about it this way. Think about how you can mess up, how you could go and just ruin your life off of this one little choice. And that's Satan coming back, and that's that fear trying to get back at you. Okay. So I promised I would use a story from the Bible to get through this, because some of y'all as teens might be thinking, I'm not really good enough to be doing this. I'm just a teenager. I can't help these people. I'm too young. They're just going to look at me and blow it off, because I thought that. But then I think, or I also thought, I'm not good enough. I messed up. I got a past. Everyone has a past. Everybody. Don't think you're alone. But then I remembered of Paul. Put up the one of, I think it's Acts. Yeah, Acts 9. This is the Lord talking about Paul. But the Lord said to him, "Go, for he is my chosen instrument of mine to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the sons of Israel." Paul was, or Saul, I guess you would say, he's persecuting Christians. He's killing them. And Jesus chooses him to go do his work? Well, no, why does that make sense? He used him as an example. No matter how far gone, no matter what bad you've done, you're never too far gone. You can't be any worse than him. He's killing Christians. Come on, like, can't get any worse than that. But you can see it right there. Go, for he is a chosen instrument of mine. Chosen. Every single one of you sitting in these chairs are chosen. Adults to teens. You are chosen by the one true Father. So, getting back to the, what are you getting defined by? When you let anxiety, depression, any of those things I mentioned control your life, it takes an effect on your life, but just everybody else's life around you. I'll admit this. I got a testimony just from today. I had physical therapy for my knee. As most of you guys can see, I'm taped up because I'm crip. But my mom drives me up there, and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I don't say anything because I'm too nervous for, well, I could say this, but it was everything. But my anxiety took control of me, and I let it rule that entire day, and I ruined most of that day because I could have had a very good conversation about what's happening right now with her. But instead, I let anxiety come in and control everything that I was doing for that day. You want to know what got rid of all that anxiety? I walk in this church, and I have a group of people surrounding me, praying over me. When that happened, all of my anxiety and my fear just melted away. It felt like the Holy Spirit just came down and poured over me. Like, I was so nervous before this. It's teens, man. You guys are like very scary to talk to. I can barely talk to you guys one-on-one most of the time. And then I have to go and talk to all of y'all about some one specific subject that I don't even know everything about. Like, that's scary. But once I have a group of friends over here, I have adults, they're praying over me, it just all goes away. I said I was going to talk about define, but I think I'm going to talk about something else here for a second. I said that to be chosen, you have to do something. In 1 Corinthians 2:9, I don't have this up there, James, but I can find it real quick. Just give me like 2 seconds. This is what it says. When you are chosen, things which eye has not seen and ear has not heard, and which have not entered the heart of man, all that God has prepared for those who love him. All you have to do is love him. It doesn't seem that easy, does it? All you have to do is love him. It doesn't seem that easy. It never is. Because once you become that child of God, Satan don't like it. He's going to come after you. He does it every time. I mean, if you think of any story in the Bible where people choose God, nothing good comes after. They're either thrown in jail, thrown in fire sometimes, like everything is not good. And once they choose God, Satan comes after them more than anybody. Because the ones that Satan don't attack are the ones that don't believe in God. Because why would he have to attack them? If you're having a good life, you're doing something wrong. Because when you're following God 100% and you're giving everything to him, there's going to be trials. There's going to be trials, and they're tough to get through. But one of the best ways to get through, or the only reason that he sends trials to his warriors, which is all of you that are chosen, is to make better people and give brighter stories on the other side to people who aren't Christians, giving testimonies. That's what testimonies are. They're trials that people have exceeded from. God puts you in that story for a reason, so you can go and minister to someone that's going through the exact same thing. The exact same thing. That's what I like to do with my whole anxiety crap. I hate talking about it, but sometimes it helps people that are struggling with it. You go and you can tell them, man, I've been in your shoes. I know what you're going through, but God still loves you, and here's some godly advice that can get you through this. Because that's what you need. You need people surrounding you that are God-filled. Because when you surround yourself with people that aren't God-filled, they drag you down. You get in their lifeboat, they'll sink, and you're going to sink with them. There's no trying to keep them afloat. You got a lifeboat, and you got 5 people in it, and 4 of them are sinking, and one's trying to keep you guys up. One person is going to keep 4 people up. You're going to sink right with them. So let go of them. Let go of those people that are dragging you down. It's hard. It's very hard for teens because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. You don't want to be that person. But sometimes you have to be that person. Sometimes you just have to be that person. Oh, crap. There's one thing I heard at that concert, too. This guy said, come back to this book, he says, you want your story to be erased sometimes. You want pages out of your life to be taken out. Don't worry about the past. The past is the past. You can't change it. Worry about the future. Worry about what you can do to your future to improve it. Quit trying to write your own story. Give the pen to God. That's what he says. He says, let go of the pen and let God get a hold of it and write your next chapter in your life. That comes back to the trust, basically. I mean, just giving all to him, it's hard. It's hard. I know. Trusting God with my next step in college, it's hard. I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. But all I can do is trust him and trust that he's going to put people in my path to lift me up and not drag me down. I already got one over here. He's going to be my roommate. Mr. Cartdeuce over there. He's going to be my roommate. I got another kid that's going to be my roommate. He's not all into the church thing. But our goal is to get him back on the right track. 'Cause that's all we can do. We can pray for him. We can hope. Hope God comes and moves. Hopefully he sees us reading our Bible and he's like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is this? Maybe he's like, I want more of that. He sees us happy. He sees us filled with that pure joy we get through God. Maybe he comes and he's like, yeah, I want that. I want that. That's being defined. If you have that identity of Christ in you, people are going to look at you and they're going to see different things. They're going to see things that they want in their own life, and they'll come and ask you. One of the best compliments I've ever gotten, ever, like even though I play basketball and I was good at basketball, whatever. Like people say, yeah, you're good at basketball, whatever. But the best compliment I've ever got is I see Christ in you. I see Christ flowing through you. I see you talking to people and just lifting them up in spirits and not dragging them down. When you get told that, you talk about a confidence booster. You get lift up. Let me find this one thing. I skipped that part. So one thing I wanted to say, but I didn't want to say it at the beginning. I'm going to anyways. One thing that people define themselves in, well, I said other people, but I'm going to say social media. Other people, social media kind of go hand in hand. But social media is so bad in our generation because it's all about identifying the perfect life. Perfect life. When you go on social media, you see everyone's perfect life. Nobody's life's perfect, but you see that. You see their side of, man, look how good my life's going. I'm going on this vacation. I'm going here. I'm going there. Look at all these pictures I post. Man, you're having a good time, but are you loving God? Are you like choosing God over all these fancy things? Who knows? Because you don't know. That's why social media can be what Satan uses the most to get to people. Because even as, I want to say I'm an older teen, but I don't want to say that because, I'm only 18. I can see people that are going on social media to fill holes in their life. Posting things aren't good, not good. Maybe it's a certain pose. Maybe it's a certain wearing something specific. Maybe it's showing how perfect their life is. But they're only doing that so that you don't see the problems in their life. Like some people post certain pictures just so you don't see that they're struggling with anxiety. You don't see that they're depressed half the time. You don't see that they're sad all the time. You don't have to deal with that. If you just give it to God 100% and you proclaim that Satan has no hold in that specific area no more, he will let it go. He will take it from you, and you won't have to deal with it anymore. This is a little testimony from camp. I was struggling at camp. I was struggling with something in my past. I'm not going to say what. I was struggling with it. And I had all these people pray over me. Nothing was working. I still felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. And then after all of you teens left, some of the teens stayed for kids camp. And at night, we didn't have a bedtime, so we could stay up whenever we wanted until, like, whatever. And I went to help. I wasn't in a good spot. I was really just kind of upset. I didn't want to be there anymore. I decided that I was go and read my Bible. I hadn't read my Bible in a long time. I'd been kind of just pushing it aside, doing other things. I decided to go read my Bible in the sanctuary so I can get away from people. Well, I get there, and another friend of mine joins me, and all I kept hearing in my mind was go to the altar. I couldn't read. I was so distracted. I had so many things going on in my mind. I couldn't read. I couldn't read one sentence without just not understanding a word they were saying. So I just went to the altar with my Bible. And some of the people who were in there I didn't know they were in there, but they could see that something else was going on. I had worship music playing in my ears, and I just started talking to God. And I didn't realize this went on for this long, but it went on for 2 hours and 30 minutes or something. And I gave everything to him. When I say everything, I'm bawling there, like, by myself. I'm crying out loud. I'm sitting there. Like, it was the first time I can truly say I've talked to God one-on-one, and I felt pure freedom from everything that I've done in my past. It was the most freeingest feeling you'll ever feel, getting that release off your chest of your past, of your anxiety, of your depression, of your drug and alcohol use, anything that you're addicted to. When you give it to him and he takes it from you, it's the best feeling you'll ever have. I don't know what I wrote right there. But yeah, going back to that free feeling, going to the altar, I want to tell you guys this. Talking to God isn't just an altar thing. It's not. Going to the altar, yes, that's good. But if you want a response, go pick up this thing right here. It's called a Bible. Open it and start reading it. You'll hear God talking to you. I've been reading all this stuff. I couldn't get anything to go. And I needed a specific response, and I got told by somebody, go read, I think it was Romans something. And right when I opened it is exactly what I needed to hear. It was like God sent me to that one person so they could say, go read that. That's what you need to hear. It's just amazing. It's like when you feel that talk from God coming to you, it's free. It's just freedom. It's pure freedom. It's pure joy. It's pure everything. I had a friend, he called me the other night, and he's shaking on the phone. He's like freaking out. I'm like, what happened? What's going on? And he's like, I just talked to God for the first time. I'm like, that's amazing. And he's freaking out. I'm like, what happened? Like, did you crash or something? Like, he's shaking. His voice is shaky. And I'm like, dude, you got to calm down. I don't know what you're saying. He's like, I spoke to God. He's like, he spoke right back to me. I knew exactly what happened. And he's like, I just had to call someone. It was the most best feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. He's like, I opened my Bible for the first time, and it was like talking one-on-one, face-to-face with him. And I'm like, dude, that is awesome. I wish everyone could feel that feeling. But it takes you stepping out in uncomfortableness. I'm uncomfortable right now. I don't like doing this. I don't like talking in front of people. I don't like it. But by doing that, maybe one of y'all realizes that this thing right here can save your life. All these books in here might be just words, which they probably are. But these words are his words. It says in John 1:1, let me go find it, because this is a very important verse. You're good. You don't have to turn the lights on. I can see it. I just got to get to it. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word is God. This is God right here. When you're looking for God, right here, this is where you go. When you're looking for God and you're looking for answers, turn to this right here, and you'll get answers. I promise you. And it's once you start reading, God opens himself up more to you and more to you every single day. I told the friend that had the experience with God, I'm like, once you start opening up that Bible and you start reading, you're going to start seeing that God's around you more and more than you think. Like, you could be walking around, you could see a shirt with a verse on it. Could just be a regular old shirt, or it could be a verse that God's trying to get you to go read. That's why when I see a shirt, I'll be honest, I go write it down and I go read it sometime, or I just read it right there. I mean, everyone's got one. If you have one of these right here, you have a Bible on there. Now, I don't really like just having this as a resource because your phone could die. I mean, mine's just now at like 18%. That thing could die and you don't have it. That's why I try to carry one of these everywhere I go. You ask my friends, when we go sometimes, I bring my Bible almost everywhere because I like to have this with me. It's important. It's important to me. My dad, Pastor Hayden, Dustin. Ooh, ooh, that slipped. We were watching. He sent me a thing on Instagram, and it was this preacher, and he was just talking. I'm like, it's just gonna be something I've probably already seen or heard before, but it wasn't. He opened and said, "What if we carried the Bible around like it was our phone? What if we got bored, or we got kind of just like don't have anything to do? What if we opened this and started scrolling through it, and started scrolling through verses and started scrolling through chapters like it was our phone? Why instead of turning to our phone for problems, we turn to the Bible for problems? If we all did that, there's no telling what we could do. There's no telling what we could do as a group. If every single one of us read our Bibles every day, you know how strong the body of Christ would be? It'd be crazy to see what you could do. Because every single one of you guys have a gift. It's probably different than the one next to you. But every single one of you guys have a gift. And when you can get the whole body to come together and put all those gifts together, it's really bad for the enemy. He don't like it. It's crazy to think that one book can change your life as much as it has in mine. Like, you think, you really can't do it. It's just a book. It's just words. Like, I don't like reading anyways. I'm a teenager. I don't like reading either. This is the only book I've ever read since, like, 6th grade. It's the only book I've ever read. I'm not lying. Because I know that I've grown up in a house that this book is very important, and I've always took it for granted. I've always took it for granted because, like, it's just the Bible. I learn it on Sundays in the mornings. Dustin says a few verses out of it. I learn it on Wednesdays. Tucker will say a few verses out of it. That's all I need. It's not. It's not all you need. Think of it as working out. You work out 2 times a week. How strong are you getting, Chase? Not very strong, right? Not very strong. It's the same way as reading the Bible. If you only read it 2 times a week, you're not going to get very knowledgeable and very strong in the Word. You got to read it at least every day. I read at least 1 chapter a day, if not more. I start with a chapter just so I can get going, because sometimes it's really hard. Motivation is very tiring. It burns out really fast, especially with stuff that sometimes I don't like to do because I don't like reading. I'll be honest. I don't like reading. I've never liked reading. I probably will never like reading. But I do like reading this because once I get going, I start imagining things and everything comes into place. It's like God takes me into a different area, a different mind space, where I can just understand everything He's trying to say to me. That's why the Bible is so important. It saves your life. It deals with your problems. And it's just cool to read. I mean, it's got some good stories in here. If you ever start reading it, they got some good stories in here. You ever read just any of the Gospels, it talks about what Jesus has done. It's a lot. I mean, if you talk about all the prophecies that man filled in the 24 hours before his crucifixion, it's like 1 in what? Can someone, 1 in 100 quadrillion or something? 33 billion. I was way off. Holy crap. I was way off. Not even close. Yeah, but that's a lot. 1 in 33 billion? You're going to tell me that's a coincidence? You're going to tell me that that's just kind of happened, it wasn't real? You're going to tell me that none of that was real, none of that was true? It says it right there. I just told you guys. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It's the truth. That's all you need. So when you go back to your problems of anxiety, depression, drug or alcohol use, because, I mean, we're teenagers. Some teenagers do it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Pornography, any of that. If you turn to this and turn to God, instead of turning to friends or turning to other sorts of addictions to deal with it, it'll be gone, and you'll have freedom from it. Pure freedom, true freedom, not fake freedom, because you get that fake freedom where it's only there for a couple days, and then you're right back into it. Like some people go down to the altar. Oh, what the crap did I just do? What was that? Never mind. Whatever. What was I saying? I got off track. Fake freedom. Yeah, fake freedom, right. Some people go down to the altar, and they give it up to God on Sunday mornings, and then on Monday mornings, they pick it right back up. They pick up that sin, pick it right back up, and take it right back home with them, because they don't want to let go of it, because it's that they found a little bit of peace in it, but it's not real peace. It's fake peace. It's Satan coming in and saying, yeah, you can escape your problems through this. No, you can't. Like pornography, some people do it and they think that's my escape from the real world. But it's not. This is a real escape from the real world. If you start reading this, a lot of problems go away. Plus, you're making a good impact on people around you. Like, I'll have friends over, and I'm downstairs reading the Bible because I need to read it at least a little bit. I mean, they might be upstairs, and they might be screaming. Like, this morning I'm reading, and Zach and Blake are thumping around upstairs, and I'm trying to concentrate, but, like, lights are about to fall down on me because they're stomping and running. I'm like, what is going on upstairs? And then Zach comes down and goes, what you reading? And I'm like, what is going on upstairs? He's like, oh, nothing. Like, it's sometimes hard because there's distractions in the real world. I mean, there's a lot of distractions, and one of the main ones, back to phones. I've asked to get a flip phone for a long time now, and my parents won't let me because there's no point in it because you can still get a lot of stuff. But, like, I go through spells where I'm like, no social media, and then I go and I download it right back because I seek for that kind of place to get away from my problems. Scrolling through, like, Instagram, you escape for problems there. You don't have to worry about nothing. Go to, let's say, Snapchat. You go on Snapchat, a bunch of people, you're escaping your problems, the real life problems. But then you go and you read this, and you actually escape your problems. You feel freedom from it. You read this Bible, everything in your life changes in a good way. And I'm not going to say everything's perfect because it's not. You're not going to be like Christ. You're going to be a Christian. Christ is in there, but you're not him. You're going to be a Christian living by it. That's why when you open this, it's like living words coming out and just talking to you face to face. It's that important. It's just, some people forget the part of this. They go and they do the ministry. They go and pray for people. They go and worship. Worship's awesome. I love it. Keep doing it. But they forget to read their Bible. This should be step one. This should be step one, talking to God. Because that's the most important thing you can do in your walk as a Christian. And when you read your Bible, your anxiety problems, they'll go away. If you trust God. Your depression will go away if you trust God. You can't keep running back to it. You can't keep running back to those anxious thoughts of, what if this happens? What if that happens? Because all it does is drag you down and drag you down and drag you down. God's got you. He's right there waiting for you. He's waiting for you to give it all to him and just follow him 100% by opening this, reading it, going and praying to him and talking to him, because he loves it when you talk to him. He loves when you talk to God. He loves when you talk to him. His favorite thing. And then, I don't know, just one of those things. You open this, everything changes. Everything in your life will change. So one thing before we go into altar call, I got one question for you. What's defining you? You letting anxiety define you? Depression? Maybe suicidal thoughts? I know teens deal with it. There's a lot of percentages out there. I don't know them, but a lot of them are just, it's bad these days. Are you letting drug and alcohol control you? You letting pornography control you? You letting fear control you? Are you letting your peers control you? That's a big one. Trying to impress people, it's hard. It's hard not to. It's hard not to try to make that next person beside you happy. But sometimes it's not good. It's not good at all. So when you go up to these altars, just remember, let God be the one that defines you. Don't let yourself be the one that defines you. You are not the one that defines yourself. It said in that song, fear doesn't define me because that's what my Father does. I had them play that song because when I was listening to it 2 days ago, last night, I don't remember. It hit me. Fear doesn't define me because that's what my Father does. It's crazy. God loves me that much that he's going to define me and define the good in me, and he's not going to look at all the bad parts of me. No, because he forgave us for all of that, all the bad parts. He loves us that much. So when you go up to these altars, just remember that. Remember that God loves you. He cares for you. He thinks you're worthy of it. He's chosen you. And he's just waiting for you to give up everything to him. The altar's yours.